Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo, episode 934. It is July 17th, 2025, and the Big Ape is loose. I'm joined today by Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Good evening.
Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
And Mr. John Lindeman.
It's my pleasure to be here, James.
Everybody has the exact same intro every time, and I'm like, I want to get some variety in. So, like, I'm gonna have to start like throwing curveballs.
The thing is, James, I believe in these unprecedented times that people really want something that they can just latch onto, that's stable, that's comforting. You know, they don't want change. There's enough of that out there already, James.
Be a possum is what John is recommending. You're probably right. That's probably why people still listen to the show, and that's a little sad. But we're here. Hey, so I've got a quick piece of business to handle. So there's no easy way to say this, but let's just go ahead and get it out there. If you've been using the email link on the website to send us an email, that probably didn't work. I mean, I don't know when it stopped working, but it's not working. Yeah, so if you poured your heart out to us in an email in there and you like spent like 3 or 4 hours composing it and you made sure that it was like perfectly tempered and, you know, you spilled your soul the way you exactly wanted to do it. Ain't nobody got that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. You wasted your time. So, hey. If you're listening and you sent an email using the web form, could you send it to us to email? That email is rfn@nintendoworldreport.com, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I will refrain from putting the link in the show notes going forward until such time that it is confirmed to me that it is resumed functioning. As of this moment, I ran a test yesterday, and no go. No worky. So, yeah, just, keep that in mind. If you wanted to send us an email, you probably need to do that again. Just thought you should know. But hey. Donkey Kong's out. Let's talk about some Donkey Kong. I have Donkey Kong. Greg has Donkey Kong. I believe that is it for the number of people who have Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I have not Donkey Konged. It's tempting, though, getting extremely good reviews on Metacritic. Like, what is it, at 91 or something?
Very good reviews. A shocking number of 10s.
Yeah.
Or whatever your equivalent therein is.
Yeah, I have to say, I did not see this coming. I did not think it would be this critically lauded.
I expected it to be good, but there's always that thing about when you make a game that's like, it's all about destroying the environment. I say there's this thing about, like, it doesn't happen that much. But there's always that fear of, like, is it just going to be a bunch of shit getting wrecked and that's it? Or is it actually going to be, good and fun and playable? And not just like, look at all the shit you can break. And listener, if you haven't bought this game, I can promise you, it's a good game. Like the reviews are accurate. It is an enjoyable experience so far. But yeah, I did not expect to see that many like 10. It's
yeah. I'm looking at IGN here, and I believe they gave it 10 out of 10 masterpiece. They said
Imagine Games Network gave it a 10 out of 10.
They did. A truly groundbreaking 3D platformer with satisfying movement, powerful abilities, impressive destructible environments, and clever challenges that all come together to in complete harmony to create Nintendo's first Switch 2 masterpiece. Did not see this coming.
It's fun.
So I was looking for info in various reviews because the first thing that I read was from CBC, actually. In the article, the guy said that he was experiencing pretty severe slowdown, and it was bothering him more than he thought it would. And I was like, okay, that's weird, because then you hear it's getting all these 10s out of 10s, and I look for, search for frame rate or, variants of like however, like slowdown or whatever. I don't find any instance of that. So I was like, okay, I need to investigate a little bit. And later that day, the Digital Foundry video came out. I still haven't watched it, but before that, I saw a review from a French website where they did explain that in portable mode, it was almost flawless. On TV, there was a difference between if your TV is set, if your resolution on your Switch 2 is set to 4K or 1080p. 1080p, not as bad. 4K, the slowdown is more significant. So anyway, so for people out there who don't really care about 4K, it might be worth turning down the setting for that. But while I was looking for that information, I saw some more critical stuff that I find kind of funny that it hasn't popped up in the 10 out of 10 reviews, because I feel like these are long-standing criticisms of the games made by this team. What's their name now? Is it just Nintendo Tokyo, or that's changed?
It would be EPD
Nintendo.
Tokyo, I suppose, these days.
All right. So basically, they say that the whole, like, you kind of face the same bosses over and over again thing comes back. So I thought, like, okay, that's certainly a game made by the team that made Super Mario Galaxy, and yeah. So yeah, like I do appreciate the fact that it's gotten a lot of 10 out of 10 reviews, but it's also kind of weird, like if there's these things that people have long considered kind of a flaw or maybe like a low point in their games, and like it's back here and like it's still not fixed, like why hasn't it been brought up? So I'm interested to see like the evolution of the opinion of people on this.
Broadly speaking, though, I mean, I don't expect necessarily for somebody that gives a game the top score that it means it doesn't have drawbacks.
No.
I mean, that's just not something that really, it's an almost, if you were to say, well, I will not give the top score unless the game has no discernible drawbacks. I mean, you may just never give it ever, and then it's like off the scale.
Sure.
It seems a bit.
But I'm more surprised that this was like such a familiar.
Oh,
complaint.
sure, yeah, something that people might be looking for ahead of time, maybe. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe some of the people reviewing it with these websites didn't even play Super Mario Galaxy. I mean, it's from 2007. I mean, it's old. Like really bloody old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. No, it's a good point.
Right.
But yeah, carry on. I don't have the game, so I'm waiting for you guys to tell me about the game.
So obviously it's only been out less than 24 hours here. I think, Greg, you've probably crossed the 24-hour mark at this point.
Yeah, oh, sure.
But not like I couldn't play it last night. I had to get up super early today. I was in bed before it even came out. So I played it for about 4 hours this evening, maybe a little bit less than that. Got through, there's the tutorial area you start in. That's what they showed when they first showed the game. There is the first like true proper area. And then I've made it into and started exploring the second one. The structure is quite different. Excuse me. Sorry again. I said it was a long day. The structure is a bit different than the Odyssey. It's a bit different than the Odyssey structure in how it connects the worlds. There's no hub, for example. There's no like Super Mario hat ship that I just hop in and it effectively acts like a hub. There kinda is. There's a warp that you can take between them. So I guess actually it is exactly the same. Never mind. They've just dressed it up as a living character instead of a ship shaped like a hat. My mistake. I'm wrong, and I retract my previous statement. But the worlds do feel like they're structured differently. And a lot of that might have to do with the fact that you can destroy them. Because that is the thing about this game. You can absolutely wreck it from top to bottom. There is like indestructible material that you will eventually run into if you keep digging down. But by and large, you can reshape the world, and there are oftentimes things hidden well underground in little pockets that they expect you to find through the act of digging. And that probably necessitated the level being structured in a very different way than Odyssey structures its worlds. But again, I'm still super early, so it's hard to like really articulate that. They just feel different in an appreciable way that I'm struggling to describe. I mean, a big part of it is that almost none of this game is about platforming. There is some platforming in it. But DK doesn't platform like Mario does. Like Mario in Odyssey is an extremely versatile platforming character. You can do a lot with it, especially if you combine it with the Cappy power, with the use of Cappy. You can do a lot of sort of, vertical and horizontal movement on your jumps. You can clear distances that normally wouldn't be available to you. There's all kinds of ways you can manipulate Mario's movement that just aren't relevant to the DK character. There are some things, like you can, those pieces of chunk he pulls out of the ground, you can double jump off of one of them, or you can essentially shield surf them like it's a Zelda game. But functionally, DK doesn't have a very robust tool set as a platformer. And so the stages kind of reflect all that. A lot of the ways that it's easiest to get up surfaces as DK is he can climb. Or he can just dig up stupid and get his way up to the thing he needs to get to. So, whereas Mario had a lot of stages that were about climbing and jumping and sort of clambering up surfaces to get to the moon, not the literal moon, get to a moon collectible. In DK's case, a lot of times it's not about going up and over, it's about going through it. And so the levels are based around that. They're based around hidden things in plain sight. They're based around, more based around combat than Mario's were, but not super combat heavy. More just frequently enough to remind you that DK's strong as shit. But again, because I'm early, it's still a little bit hard to say. You can still see Mario Odyssey all over this fucking game, including but not limited to the multitude of currencies, although they got rid of the area-specific currencies, and the clothing shops from Odyssey, where now both you and Pauline can get, or both DK and Pauline can play dress up. And I don't recall if this is the case. Did the clothes in Mario actually do anything? Because the clothes in this game actually do stuff.
Yeah.
No, the costumes were just costumes, weren't they?
That's how I remember it. But
that's what I thought as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
There might have been like one costume that's like the last one you unlocked that did something marginal and stupid. But in this case, like when I was putting some clothes on Pauline, which sounds much worse than I intended it to.
Sorry, like some of them could give you moons, couldn't they? I think that was it.
Oh yeah, you could go. They would grant you access to an area like a dance party or something that's relevant for that costume, and that would get you a moon.
Right. Yeah, but that was it.
Yeah, Pauline's costumes that I have seen so far have stat boosts. So in one case, it was you can swim faster, and in another case, it was I think the charge time was decreased on DK's charge up attacks. So there's some actual really minute, but still there, strategy around what do you put them in. But beyond that, it's just kind of there. I don't know. I'm struggling a little bit with this, I guess because it's early still. And the tutorial is, it's weird. Like the game lets you start playing basically instantly. But the tutorial is still pretty long. It just doesn't feel like a tutorial.
I guess one of my major questions about the destruction and stuff is, how does it work? Like, does shit come back after a while? Like, what happens there?
If
you were to leave the area and come back, I suspect it comes back.
One thing I noticed, I think it was a prompt on the map, which I haven't brought up that often, but I think there's an option to like reset things if you want.
I can see that.
Yeah, so that I guess, like, I don't know if it's possible to, like, just keep mucking about with stuff for up to a point, and then eventually we get the equivalent of the you know, a Breath of the Wild Blood Moon, and it has to reset everything. You know, and everything just returns to normal. But it certainly seems like you can essentially, if you can do that on a discretionary basis at the very least.
I have, which is good because I have kind of fucked around with an area and essentially soft locked myself from being able to get a moon. Excuse me, a banana. It's kind of hard because not only do they look like the moons in a shape standpoint, they have the same sort of yellow crystally color to the point where it's almost like a bad mod. They've changed the moons to bananas mod. But sometimes there is chunk material that explodes on impact, and it's able to clear out surfaces that DK normally can't break on his own. And so I had used up in some places it respawns. So there's like basically an infinite spawn of the explosive material. So if you pick it up and throw it and miss, you'll get more in a second. But in some cases it doesn't respawn. It's just like, this is one chunk. Do it. And I ran out and couldn't get the third third banana. So it was in this little pocket dimension thing. There are these areas that you can go into, as DK and Pauline, and they have like a little challenge in them that you have to clear. And a lot of times they've got either one banana or they've got 3 bananas, where only one of them is mandatory. The other 2 are hidden in some way, shape, or form. And I had to go back and replay it just so I had all the necessary bananas in order to do my banana-ing. The other thing that's different is that DK is an RPG. Well, Donkey Kong Bananza is an RPG, a light RPG-like, because DK has power-ups that you can apply based on the number of bananas you collect. So every 5 bananas, you get a skill point, and then you can use skill points on a very modest and reserved skill tree. But a skill tree nonetheless, which is definitely new. I have been just pouring points into DK's punch. I want his punch to be the most powerful. I want to maximize punch. But I'm still trying to figure this game out a bit. The animation is, as we saw in the video, but like seeing it in person is very good. As an example, if you climb to the top of a tall place, DK will put his hand over his head, start leaning out like he's looking for something on the horizon, and make excited noises. There is an animated sequence relatively early after you get Pauline, where it's doing like quick cuts where we're getting the impression that we've been waiting around for her to make a decision for a while. And we're just sort of like jumping in time through her emotional responses to it. And so she's doing all these big dramatic emotional articulation as she goes through her concerns. And DK is in the background giving this like cartoon version of the exact same emote that she's giving. That is absolutely perfect. He's a big goofy clown, and I love him. He is excellent. I'm surprised how much I like Pauline as well. Like both of these characters animate super well. They look super good. They're both cute in their own way. They interact well, even though DK doesn't talk. I mean, he makes noises. You can sometimes kind of intuit what he's saying. But yeah, like this is still super early. I'm having a really good time. Which is why my thoughts are pretty scrambled. Also, because I played it for 4 straight hours. That's probably not good for my health. But yeah, like it's a weird mix of, oh, that's Odyssey. There's a piece of Odyssey here. And then this is wildly not Odyssey. This is dramatically not Odyssey in a very specific and explicit sort of way. That I'm a little bit fascinated by how they've taken Odyssey and basically built something because Odyssey is in many ways is quite the precision platformer. I know people bitch about the fact there are just moons on the ground. Don't dig them up then. Just leave them. But it has a lot of precision in its motion, and that comes into play in a number of especially late game challenges for moons that are platforming based. DK's controls are complicated, but insofar as he can do a lot of things related to digging. 3 of the 4 face buttons are devoted to digging. One of them digs up, one of them digs in front of him, and one of them digs down. It's almost like they gave you like a twin stick shooter at an arcade where like one stick would have you firing and the other one would have you moving. It's almost like they did that with the face buttons for his digging. The only other face button is jump. The shoulder buttons are used extensively, in some cases in combination with each other. Like the Bananza mode, which is when DK transforms, you have to hold down the left and, I think it's LR and RR? No. The smaller shoulder buttons. You have to hold down both of them.
Yeah, it's just those two.
And,
together.
Yeah. But that's because each of those buttons on their own is in use, and the larger shoulder buttons are in use, so they've just sort of like make do. Like they've run out of button.
Well, and it's the whole, he's ostensive, he's beating his chest, isn't he, to transform into the new form, but luckily they're not making you do an actual kind of drum roll using the shoulder. They could have done. It's more like imitating what's going on screen, but it's probably not going to be great for your buttons long term if you was doing that all the time.
It does have a little bit of motion control when you're throwing items. You can use motion control to find
gyro aiming basically. It's pretty snappy.
Yeah, I found most of the time I don't need to actually use the gyro aim, but if I need it, it's pretty good. All right, Greg, I'm gonna stop talking for a little bit and let you roll.
Sure. Well, I mean, the one thing I'll say is that by the sound of what you've said, I'm at almost exactly the same point as you are in terms of, so you have through the tutorial kind of zone, through the first main zone and the kind of the first main kind of boss there, down into the next layer. So is it like the lagoon layer and now I'm in the hill layer or whatever? So
with the rock people.
I've just kind of, started exploring that a little bit. So obviously the scope of what I could talk about is very much the same and therefore quite limited. Yeah. But it is interesting, the fact that you've got quite a lot of inputs, and it's also interesting to me that they don't kind of necessarily kind of go through them all or like force you to interact with all of them straight away. It kind of feels like, well, maybe that would be a bit too cumbersome. So it's not like the Ingot Isle section at the beginning that we saw in the treehouse a while back and all that kind of stuff. Like, that doesn't really talk about, for instance, the back left shoulder, the ZL, like, rolling thing. Whereas, like, when I arrived in the second main area, the hill layer, like, it did talk about it then. So it was kind of like, okay, it's seemingly the fear of like overburdening people with information that isn't even necessarily it's not like you couldn't be, if you're just experimenting with the controls and messing around and find you can roll and using it to like extend some jumps or get around a bit quicker, you could just do that naturally. And then by the time they actually say it it's kind of redundant, but it's fine. But equally, I think maybe they just felt like they didn't want to overload people, especially probably younger players, with the feeling of, oh god, there's so many, inputs and so many things you can do. And like you said, it's interesting. The default is A is jump. And that makes sense from the point of view that then what that leaves the rest of the face buttons is, B, the lowest, goes down with your punch. Y across from A punches sideways, and then X above digs, as you said, digs up. So it's like punches upwards. So it makes sense, but I can imagine, and it did for me. Like you instinctively are going to try and jump with another button. But for me, it was B. Yes, but it depends on the game, right? Because I mean, isn't it X in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild or something? Or
those games are notorious for having a weird jump button.
Yeah, which again, I mean, there's some logic to that because it's the top of the button, so like it's kind of up,
I get it.
Like I do tend to map Smash Brothers jumping to that button Like back on the GameCube, like have it be the one above the big A button. So there's some logic to that in its own context, but especially because this, kind of looks like other Mario games to a degree and stuff like, you can change it, but I think because it does make sense within this game's like logic of that, bottom, middle, top kind of punching, I think I'll just keep it this way. And, after more than a few hours and one day's worth of play, I think it'll just kind of sink in and you go from there, isn't it? But, the other, as you said, the skill tree and all that, I guess what's interesting about that is the fact that it is the banana gems or whatever they are. It's them, they provide you get enough of them of 5 and you get a skill point, right? So it's kind of like, I guess what you've got there is the fact that, in Odyssey, you had, and it's been, quite a long time since I played through Odyssey, so my command of every fact about it is not that brilliant, I'm sure. But as I recall, it was a case of like, you had kind of a certain amount of moons that you had to get in order to progress, right? As well as certain kind of, mission critical tasks that would usually give you like a bunch of moons at once, right? Like a boss would. Yeah. Now, you have a similar thing here. In this case, it is literally a bunch of bananas. You'll beat a boss and you'll get like 5 of them. But like, it doesn't seem like you've got those quotas, at least not yet, does it? Like, it does.
Not that I've seen.
I wouldn't say I really mainlined that first major area. I wanted to mess around. There was points where it's like, okay, because like what you could do is you can whistle with one of the buttons to like basically bring up the kind of, it's a bit like, what do they call it in Xenoblade? The follow ball or whatever.
Yeah, Tatsu's something ball.
Yeah, like where it's like, okay, this is generally going to show you where the main objective is you need to go to, pursue that, right? So you've got that, and then you have markers with a little yellow exclamation point. And so I was like, well, yeah, that's there. Let's take some time. Let's mess about, get a feel for the controls, find some extra stuff. You got the fossils, they show up on your kind of clapping sonar thing. Obviously you've just got your bananas, all sorts of things around. You've got, like you said, those kind of portals where you go and do a little challenge kind of thing that might get you. In some cases, it's a single banana. In some cases, it can be up to 3 if you find the extra ones. And they're quite varied. You've got like combat bits. You've got things that are more puzzleish. Some of the areas where you do have more overt kind of just a platform challenge. That's where it is in those kind of, and from, the promotional materials, we know that's where some of the side scrolling kind of areas are going to be that they showed, where it's, imitating old school DKC and I have not come across anything like that yet. But, I thought I was doing a decent job finding quite a lot of that stuff, but eventually I'm like, okay, let's go to the next area. And I went there. And then I checked like the kind of checklist, and it was an enormous amount of stuff that I hadn't done. Especially in the sort of the lower sub layer of that first major area. It's like, oh wow, there's loads of, as you said, I think what do they call it? The elevator is the warp thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You could walk back there and, if you want to get more stuff, you can. And I guess there's a bit more of an incentive in this case here, not because you need to hit a quota, but because it's going to get you those skill points, right? And you get, so I guess that's the thing here is that maybe, it's substituting for that a little bit. It's just like, let's not have quotas, really. It's just like people can pursue the main story however, at whatever pace they want. But there's an incentive there to kind of get all these other bananas that are just around, because your character's going to get more capable more quickly, and there might be specific skills you see, like, I want to try, like, there's one right now, which is like, what they call it, the turf surf, where you get a chunk of the ground, and you can travel across ground at high speed using that. Well, there's a skill where that can work over water. So it's kind of like, I'd quite like to have that, right? Because there's that bit in the lagoon sort of area where there's a whole bunch of water, and I could cover that a lot quicker. So just giving little incentives, little kind of something to think, yeah, you know what, I could go back there maybe and get a bunch more of those rather than feeling like you're just, oh, well, I've left that behind now. But we'll see. It'll be interesting how enjoyable it is to be really thorough about this, because, you know, there is the feel like, good Lord, there's a lot of stuff to collect, and some of it is just underground, and, you know, are you really going to be just like systematically going everywhere and doing the sonar thing? I mean, I think it was wise for them to map another function to that clapping, which is that it collects things around you, right? Rather than just having to, you know, physically get in contact with all the gold, you know, chunks and whatever else that you're picking up. If you clap, it just, you just sort of absorb them from within a particular radius, and that in itself is like an upgradable skill. So the thing is, what you're doing that to collect stuff, you will then maybe incidentally see like, oh, it pinged a fossil over there, and now I'll go over there, and it just kind of organically leads you to more discoveries rather than having to kind of expressly and, you know, systematically like do that. But I guess if you're thinking about projectile a long way ahead, where you might be going for 100%, and you are getting into that phase of like explicitly, you know, having to just hunt every little thing down, how enjoyable is that going to be? Hard to say, but I mean, there's an element of that with a lot of these types of games, whether you're talking about Odyssey, getting all the green stars in Galaxy 2, whatever it might be, you know, doing the Luigi campaign in Galaxy 1. Yeah, there's always a part of it where it's like, it's getting a bit more on the kind of tenuous side, but often I tend to follow through anyway. But we'll see. I'm encouraged, you know, but and it does feel quite fresh, I guess, is the main thing. The fact that you feel more like you're actually having to get to grips with something, you know, relatively new, with all these different inputs and different ways of moving and interacting with the world, than, you know, you would be, you know, if it was another Mario game, I would guess, you know, so,
right.
And that's why, yeah, the fact that it's just a few hours in is, you know, you got to bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's hard for me to kind of like articulate how I feel about it, because there's definitely things where I'm sitting here going like, where are we at? What is this doing? Like, how do I feel about this thing? And I feel like Odyssey. When I picked it up, I was much quicker for me to be like, oh, this game is resplendent. It's taking me a little time on this. I think in part because it feels like there is more to get used to. You touched on it, that Odyssey, in and of itself, is still a 3D Mario game. And so there is a certain amount of like template space in my brain for how these operate, how these play, what I expect them to be. This thing is not a 3D Mario game. It may have been built on the engine of a 3D Mario game, I'm guessing. It may have been built by a team who made a 3D Mario game, but it's not a 3D Mario game. It is fundamentally, it just feels too different from that. No,
and I mean, to me, there's a fair bit of the, and I don't know about specific development talent here, but there does feel like an influence from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in some of this stuff, you know, definitely the kind of some of the like physics elements, and, you know, in terms of like being able to throw bits of the ground together or rip bits of ground, those bombs, the kind of things that you mentioned. Like, I mean, I just completed one of those kind of Portal, you know, challenge courses, where it was really felt like it could have been a shrine from Zelda, you know, like in the sense that like you've got this sections of ground where there's like all these enemies. Well, there's not really enemies, there's more like objects or somewhere between the two, but they're just like these spiked orbs like rolling around in, you know, huge quantity. So it's like, well, it's really difficult to cross, but you've got the explosion, you know, causing kind of blocks that you can pick up, and you throw them into the ground at a particular spot. It creates a big crater, and then all those things just flow into that space, and it creates a gap that you can cross safely over there. And I'm sure that's not nearly the only way you could have solved that problem. You know, maybe just with like some nifty expert platforming, or, you know, blowing up a different part of the level or whatever, cutting it off a different way. But that does feel very much like, that Zelda influence and more that, in that department than something I would associate with Odyssey. As obviously that's, longer ago because we've had Tears of the Kingdom, since, which had its own, kind of innovations from Breath of the Wild, but it fundamentally is reprising that formula. So that's kind of what I'm thinking most of all there. But, and then again, as you mentioned with the skill points, it's a little bit similar to, with Zelda is very limited, right? It's like you can put it into stamina or you can put it into health. But there was that little bit of similarity in terms of I was always kind of thinking, I'd rather put it into not health. Like, health is the most boring thing you can put it into. And that is a similar thing here because DK does have it. And I've ended up dying a couple of times. As a result, I've not been expanding the health. And sometimes, like, I've had stuff where, I was turf surfing on some, like, spike surface and then I hadn't picked up the actual hard bit of ground. So it just kind of crumbled and then you hit the spikes and die. But all it does is cost you, there's the gold points that you're kind of constantly accruing. It's that kind of attitude towards death, more like Odyssey and stuff. And to me, that's just more interesting. Is like, let's get more bananas to try out some of the other skills rather than just the ones that you know exactly what it's going to do. And it's just not that interesting.
Yeah. How am I going to word this? I have been pumping, because I've been pumping my stat points into punch. I want big punch. I need big punch, because it does greatly impact, pun not intended, how fast you tear through the world. And there is a lot of utility in being able to just fucking shred the world. But also, when you get the Bananza form, it also has stats you can boost, and so I have also been boosting its punch, because I need maximum punch. And so there is a certain amount of, like, DK as a toolkit, and you can sort of use him to solve the problem however you want. That instance where I had semi-soft locked myself, I actually solved it by going into Bananza mode and activating Big Punch to go through the wall that was previously unbreakable. But, like, I think the reason I'm struggling to sort of articulate what I think beyond just sort of like giving you recitation of facts about the game is that I'm still trying to get like a grip on how to play it. In the very beginning, the very opening tutorial section, if you go watch that original demo they gave back in, I think that was March, there's that very first room. And I just sat there and scraped off all the surfaces and just completely exposed the bedrock. I don't do that everywhere, but I do a lot of that. Or I'll get into like that space looks suspiciously large. Why did they devote so much space to it? It's just a vertical surface. Maybe there's something in it, and then I just sit there and shred it to pieces. And kind of a Minecrafty sort of way where you're just digging through the earth. But the control scheme is still taking me some getting used to. I don't know that I like it, but I understand it, but I've had a hard time like convincing my brain to just do it automatically. To Greg's point, my brain really doesn't want jump to be A. It really desperately does not want that.
No, it can be changed, but yeah, like I said, then maybe the other actions might screw you up. That's the caveat there.
Like the digging being up, forward, down on the face buttons makes a lot of sense. It's just, okay, who gets to be jumped now? There is an aerial move that I haven't bought yet that I'm curious if there's more like that, if this is a Bayonetta thing where I'm going to get combo moves or something.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, some of those, like where you warp to a little combat encounter, that's like very Bayonetta, isn't it? In its own way. It's like Tears of the Kingdom is the takeaway that I keep walking away from.
And I don't know why Tears of the Kingdom and not Breath of the Wild.
Well, it's more recent.
Maybe
That's
it's
my kind of the thing I immediately think of. I mean, there's definitely for me. There's more than a few times where it's like I'm thinking Zelda. Like there's those moments where you launch, you find a cannon somewhere, and it launches you up in the sky, and it kind of stops the action when you reach the apex of the launch and gives you the chance to survey everything. And that really does kind of feel like, that moment of finding a tower in one of the Zelda games, so it feels like it's trying to hit some of those same kind of, feelings of, okay, I found something and now I can survey the world and think of, where do I want to go next? What do I want to investigate next? And in terms of the destruction for destruction's sake element, have you found the guide that talks about the stat tracking for that? Like there's that really amused me.
I got a banana for
it is actually giving you targets. Like, hey, what if you destroy this much of this kind of rock in this level of the world or whatever? We'll give you a banana just for that.
Yeah, so in the second area, the second true area, the one we're both in right now, I came across that guy, and he's like, whoa, you've wrecked so much Earth. Here's a banana. And that was my first encounter with him, and I'm like, what? All right, Rockman. I then punched him in the face and broke him, because they are breakable. Did you encounter the one of them where you have to throw a chunk? And all of the surfaces are non-chunkable, so metal surfaces that you can't pull from. And he turns into an arrow, at which point you can extract a piece of his face and throw it at the enemy. He's totally cool with it. That. He grows it back, but he's just he turns into an arrow, and then the only thing that you can chunk is him. And then you throw it at it's one of those platforms that when you hit it with the chunk, it converts into something you can stand on.
Yeah, they're kind of interesting, aren't they? Yeah, there's just so whatever type of material it'll take on that property, and then become a platform made out of that.
Yep. So I had to throw a piece of that character at it, and it worked. So I appreciate your helping me getting those 3 coins that were over there. Thank you, sir. There is something interesting with the consistency of the chunks. I have noticed that do an interesting job of baiting you towards things buried underground. You hit a seed.
Yeah, there's definitely breadcrumbing going on that is not just use the sonar.
Right. But it's not always there. Sometimes, sometimes the breadcrumbs don't lead to anything. Or maybe I took a left when I should have taken a right, and I just missed them. Other times I just run into things because I tore through the world from a direction they didn't expect me to, and then I got breadcrumbing on the way out. But I just shredded a mountain, and there it was. I do like in the first true area where everybody's like, "Wow, you're really good at breaking things. You want to go break some more things?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah, I want to break some more things. Let's go break some more things. People really like DK and his ability to just break shit. He's very popular in this game for his capacity to make things not exist anymore. And I kind of appreciate that. I kind of appreciate the energy behind that kind of gameplay decision.
Yeah, I'm pretty curious about this game just from the sense that the Odyssey, Mario Odyssey never really grabbed me. That's just kind of Mario platformers in general. They don't really grab me anymore. And just because I feel like they're sort of pointless busy work, and I don't know why I feel that way towards them, but I lose my patience with them very quickly because I just don't find that I don't find that gameplay. I kind of sit there, I'm like, what is the point of this? I mean, yes, at a meta level, you could say, what is the point of playing any video game? But just that type of game, I just don't really find it super rewarding. And I'm wondering if there's going to be some hook in this game that is different.
Do you like to just break shit?
I don't mind breaking shit. I'm not breaking shit averse.
Because to me, that's the thing that, at least right now, well, I would say there's two things. Like, the game's passion for just break shit, is a big part of the difference.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that the areas we've seen so far, and granted, we're early days, there's nothing that's like weird, goofy nonsense like we had in Odyssey so far. Like, Odyssey out of the gate, we get the hat place. That's the equivalent of the tutorial. And then, isn't the first one the dinosaurs? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty confident that's right.
Like, the areas feel much more reserved than Odyssey's complete wall-to-wall weirdness.
Yeah, and maybe that.
Although I guess it is in its own way. In its own way, it's bizarre because we are told we're journeying deeper and deeper underground, and yet it is broad daylight and very, very bright.
And there are clouds in the sky.
There's a similar thing in Splatoon 3 where like there's this sort of area where like the last of whatever calamity happened, like the last surviving people had like a haven underground that has like a sky, but they actually explain that. They actually go to the effort of explaining how there's a simulated sky in this beneath the Planet of the Apes shit that's going on there.
Sure.
But I don't think such a one is forthcoming in this case.
Probably not. I like the worlds we've seen so far, but there hasn't been any, like, I guess the rock people are pretty fucking weird. But it's not like, oh, you've come across the food dimension where here all the characters are sentient utensils. We haven't seen anything go that weird, but conversely,
no, there was a big, that's one thing that was, kind of interesting about Odyssey is that the worlds were very different in pretty much every way. Like you think about aesthetically, but also you think about structurally and, you know, kind of to size and scale. And some of them were very small, and just had like a few sort of challenges of a general sort of type, while, you always had like certain, kind of recurring features that would come up. But yeah, they were very different experiences from Worlds, where you wonder whether that will be the case here or whether it'll be a little bit more consistent, just because it kind of feels like, I don't know, the nature of this. We've got these little challenges, being nested inside it, a little bit like shrines in a Zelda game. But, the actual bigger worlds, like they all have to be of a certain scale for the kind of general premise to kind of function, right? It's just, the way that this gameplay works. So yeah, I don't know whether we'll see any that are quite as kind of minor or like compact as, like you said, I don't think the kitchen one was very big, was it? If you go back to that.
But there was
Odyssey.
like the horror nighttime one that was extremely small. The one that was the castle.
The dragon boss thing? Like, there was that. I remember that. That was just the dragon boss, basically. Like,
I mean, there was a little area you could explore around outside of it. I think there were like 2 other moons. But like, yeah, I mean, that was tiny. But there are, these areas do feel relatively big, especially because they're multi-leveled. Now, I assume that as we go through the game, they will get bigger, because it is a little tough to navigate them when they're 2 stories, just because you have to kind of mentally process in your head, okay, where did I see this? It was on the first floor. I got to go down and get it. That kind of stuff. I feel like I'm going to have a lot more to say next week, but I'm still trying.
I would imagine so.
I think part of it was, I just didn't necessarily, like, I'd seen video of the game. I kind of knew what the game was, but I feel like I didn't fully understand what the game was. And it wasn't like I had a misconception. I felt that way going in. I was like, I'm curious what this is. Mm-hmm. Even though I had seen it
and I mean, there's an element of just like pure play about the beginning, you know what I mean? Where it's just like you are just messing around with what this character can do, what you can make it do. and the actual objectives, are not really necessarily the most important thing at that point. It's just like, okay, this is a slightly different kind of, kind of game from in this general sort of genre, but I'm gonna mess around with what can this character do, how can I interact with the world, and that's at this point that's a significant portion of what we've done.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't leave that much capacity to kind of get really into the nuance of like, well, what do they do with that? That's how interesting is that, and how well does it all hang together? Yeah. Those certainly questions that we'd be better prepared to address next week, although I wouldn't necessarily say, we'll be entirely kind of have our answers finalised by then either, because I don't know how much time I'll get in. Naturally, it could vary. But so far, it's mostly portable for me, a tiny bit on the television. But what Guillaume saying was interesting there. So, because I've not seen any options with regard to like a performance mode or anything in the game. So what you're saying, Guillaume, is you have to go to the system setting and tell it to only do 1080p, and that delivers a better performance.
Yeah, they did not detail the problem, but they did say that, in 1080p, it's the slowdown is not as bad as in 4K. So did they have two TVs, or did they go change the settings on the Switch? I don't know.
Oh, I would assume that'd have to be it, because like I said, I can't see anything in the game, and that's the only other way
I wouldn't
you
expect
do it,
a
right?
Nintendo game to have that kind of setting.
I mean, they've been the odd thing. The Fire Emblem Warriors had like a performance mode, but obviously, it's Koei mode.
They have very deliberately made the decision that it will look at what the Switch's settings are, and the Switch makes those settings available based on what the TV settings are. So if you were to change it on your TV, your Switch would detect it's 1080p only and go, okay, cool, 1080p. But I think you can change it in the Switch settings to 1080p as well. I have been playing it on my TV in 4K. I have not had any issue with slowdown.
Right. They said that it's mostly towards the end. There's more and more, shit going on, I guess.
Sure.
So that's when it becomes a problem.
I would say the bigger issue I've had is the camera sort of disappears into the wall as I dig through things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a shock given the nature of the game. It seems like it's probably relatively taxing on a camera system. This like environment is, so variable, right? Like how you end up destroying it. It's not kind of, it opens up all these possibilities, but it definitely is having a bit of trouble. And like, like when you get in really kind of subterranean and it applies this kind of brown filter around you to kind of suggest, okay, you're underground, now, and you just kind of, everything around you is just like this sort of brown haze. Every now and again, that lingers longer than it should. It's like I'm out of the tunnel now, and it's still things are still brown for a while. So there's definitely some jank going on with the camera and those sorts of effects, because like I said, it's still suboptimal to say the least. But I'm not shocked by it either, because I can only imagine you are setting yourself up for trouble when you let it be this variable, when you let it be this kind of up to whatever the hell the player deforms the environment into,
Yeah, there is a lot of like debris and stuff as you just hammer through the earth that generates debris. You hit a gold seam and gold explodes everywhere. That generates debris. There's particle effects firing off. Like, I get that it's very visually taxing, but also everything's being sort of like set to low opacity because it's trying to show DK buried inside a mountain.
Mm-hmm. Is the smashing satisfying? And I say that as, like a game that I've been kind of playing around with on the side is like Deep Rock Galactic, where you're a dwarf mining. And I find the mining, that act of just like sitting there and tapping against something on a wall, very satisfying in that game. Is it the same kind of thing?
It can be. Yeah. I think because the barrier to just blowing up the goddamn earth is so low.
Yeah.
Like just the act of doing it, isn't that much. Like just the generic, I'm gonna break this wall.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start just hammering through a wall and like hit a seam or fall into a secret area that you dug into, that can feel very satisfying. Mm-hmm. DK with his charged punch, eviscerating some enemy and turning them into dust, that can feel very satisfying.
Yeah.
I would say the average digging action does not feel particularly satisfying. It just is. It's just part of his locomotion ultimately.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to describe it. It's just part of how he moves. But yeah, that doesn't mean there aren't moments where you bust through a wall and you drop into this area and there's a banana on the ground and Lord knows what else. That can feel extremely satisfying. I think I've said everything I want to say right now. Greg, what about you?
Sure, yeah, like I said, it's kind of limited at the moment, so you don't want to go over it too much. We'd have far more kind of to go on in terms of where some of these kind of tendencies or kind of things observations that we made so far, where they're actually going to go. So yeah, I'm quite content to leave it at that for now.
Okay, cool. Let's see, time. Where are we at? We're at 55 minutes. Why don't we take a break here? When we come back, we'll figure out what we want to do for our next segment. Is that good with y'all?
Sounds good.
All right. We will be back shortly. We return. As I mentioned at the start of the show, email is on fire this week. So you're going to have to send them through the actual email, not through the thing in the link in the article. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. But before we get to listener mail, which we're about to do, we got one more new business segment. John, would you please share with the class what you have been playing?
Sure. So it's pretty funny, So on PSN, I buy a lot of stuff that's on sale, and so I picked up the Callisto Protocol, which it made me laugh because this is the deluxe edition. An $89.99 game on sale for $13.49. So
that's big sale.
That's highly indicative of how well this game sold, I would think. This game came out, I think, 2022. I think so. It's not that old. But yes, deeply discounted. But it's a game that I had considered picking up for a while. Obviously, like I just played through the Dead Space remake again. And I really love that game. And of course, this game is kind of a spiritual successor to Dead Space, directed by Glenn Schofield, who was at Visceral Games before Visceral Games got shut down. Completely unsurprisingly, this was done by his former game studio now, Striking Distance, which of course released this game that was published by Krafton. And then that studio was shut down. I think as of February, Striking Distance Games was completely shut down. Everybody was laid off. So in a short span of 3 years, the studio that made this game doesn't even exist anymore. But it was always one that I was curious about because I knew that it was effectively a new version of Dead Space. And yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. Of course, just having played through the remake, I come over to this and it's very easy to see that it's made by the same people. Has a lot of the same sort of gameplay tropes. It's exactly the same, and just in terms of, you're walking through these dingy environments, and it's an over-the-shoulder view. Couple of tweaks though, and you can see sort of probably. I don't remember enough of Dead Space and Dead Space 3 or Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3. I don't remember enough of that gameplay. I remember Dead Space 2 was very, very similar to the first one. I do remember playing a little bit of that. Dead Space 3 I never played, but I heard it was more action-oriented and people didn't really like it. But where this one differs from, the most recent game for me, the remake, is that it's a little bit more action-oriented in the sense that the combat is a little bit more dynamic in the sense that it has a mechanic where you can duck You can duck enemies' attacks. So an enemy comes at you and they try to attack you with their right arm, you dodge left, and then they try to attack you again, they dodge right. And it's the same sort of thing where, these are zombies and various kind of mutated monsters that are attacking you. But it's a little bit more action oriented. So, and I think in some of the reception feedback that I've heard about the game is that people view it as a bit more difficult. And I think it is a bit more difficult out of the gate just because it does actually have more action focus, and you actually do have to kind of, you can't just keep enemies at bay like you can in Dead Space, where you can get items or weapons that you can pretty much ensure that monsters barely even come near you. But in this one, it's a lot more kind of melee focused. I'm right at the start of the game, but I think it's different. I don't know if it's better. One of the things I liked about Dead Space was the fact that you could do that. Like you could really kind of inch along through levels, especially in harder areas. You could get very tactical with it, and I feel like you probably won't be able to do that in Callisto Protocol. But the plot is very similar. I'm sure the plot is very tropey. I've read that, it's the plot is seen as very unremarkable and very predictable. Doesn't surprise me. But you are Jacob Lee, who gets thrown into Black Rock Prison on the moon of Callisto, one of the moons of Jupiter. It's set in the far future, and Callisto is a prison planet, or at least it has this black iron prison on it. And you are sort of kind of a cargo runner, and you're there with your partner, and you just want to do one more run, and you're going to make a lot of money. And of course, things kind of go haywire. Your ship gets boarded by some by kind of what are perhaps terrorists. You don't really know at the start, but your ship gets disabled, crashes back on the moon, and then you get picked up by this captain, this captain of the jail, and then you get thrown in jail even though you're innocent, but you still get thrown into Black Rock Prison. Of course, you wake up or Black Iron Prison. And of course, you wake up and everything's gone haywire, and everything is destroyed. Everything, all the inmates have been turned into monsters, and you find another inmate that you team up with, and you try to figure things out from there. So it's all very, very kind of typical, very similar to Dead Space, because at the start of that game, you answer an SOS from the Ishimura, which is this mining ship out in the far reaches of space, and your ship gets damaged, and you crash into the Ishimura's docking bay, and so you can't leave, and so then you have to go and you figure out that, hey, wow, everybody's been turned into monsters, and then you have to figure things out from there. So very much, of course, directed by the same guy, so very, very much like Dead Space, which I'm fine with because I like Dead Space, and I just like that kind of game in general. Other similarities are on the back of your neck you have your health, whereas in Dead Space it's on the strip on your back, so you can always see how much health you have as you're walking around, and then if you bring up your inventory, it's exactly the same as it is in Dead Space, where it has kind of the hologram that's projected in front of your character. So it is really just like Dead Space 1.5 set in a different place. I think it's, I don't know. It's kind of funny to me because it's almost gore for gore's sake in these games.
Oh, it totally is.
It's just, to the point where you almost get so normalized. It's just like dead bodies everywhere, limbs, there's blood everywhere for really almost no reason. There's no story reason. It's just oh yeah, that's the way it is. Literally, there's just bloods splattered over every wall. It's just, I don't know. It's funny, but this one is a little bit more visceral in terms of the killing animations for your character. A monster will come up and grab your mouth and tear your skull off, and then your character has its brains sitting there. It's pretty crazy.
I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it's I think it's obvious that they kind of looked at Dead Space and they said, okay, well, let's ratchet it up a notch here and just make things extra gory.
Yeah, like that's lame. Let's do this hard. Let's do this. Let's get so gory.
Yeah. But one thing that is interesting though is the lead character is Josh Duhamel, the actor, and I always think this is funny in this game. And I thought about this because take a game like Cyberpunk 2077 where you have Idris Elba's in there and Keanu Reeves is in there, right? And I think for
irresponsible degree of spending on your celebrity talent.
Right. And I was thinking about this and, I think it's actually fine for Cyberpunk 2077 to have those kinds of things. I get a chuckle out of it, but I do appreciate it at the same time because those games are sort of like that game in particular is kind of meant to be a little over the top and a spectacle. So I feel like it works. I don't feel like it's too weird, but
it's a little weird.
It's okay. It's a little weird, but I feel like for this game, it feels especially strange and unnecessary because it doesn't add anything to the experience. I feel like at least with Cyberpunk, having those actors in there, it kind of adds something to the experience, some intangible. But just Josh Duhamel kind of randomly being in this sci-fi horror game, I just don't know. I don't know why they spent the extra money that it would have taken to get him into the game.
I mean, I don't want to denigrate Mr. Duhamel's work, but I don't think he was that expensive.
That's true. True.
I'm going to be honest.
But I guess, but putting him in the game must have meant, I don't know. It must have meant, they must have thought that there would be some kind of draw, but having him in the game doesn't draw me to this game. It doesn't do anything more for me than
I get that.
Than the just rando guy that they have in Dead Space. So, and I mean, like Josh Duhamel, it's not like he's some sort of tour de force actor. He's your typical ruggedly handsome, kind of B-level action guy, I guess. I mean, he's most notable for being married to Fergie of the Black Eyed Peas. I don't know.
Formerly.
I'm learning so much about Josh Duhamel right now.
I did not know that. Are they divorced? I did not know this.
They are divorced, yes.
Wow. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. But
I mean, she could do better. I don't even like Fergie. But look, she could do better. It's not. That's not a statement of looks. That's a statement of where their careers were. She could do better.
Right, but is her career exploding? Did we talk about that on the recording or not? Anyway, like, is she past her prime as well, or no?
No, I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, Black Eyed Peas, they aren't even together anymore. They broke up, they went on indefinite hiatus, but I mean, they're not getting back together. What are they going to get back together when they're 50? Like, nobody wants to see that.
I mean, yes, probably.
Probably.
Let's be honest, yes.
Yeah, who am I kidding?
I mean, Will Smith is touring Europe right now. Yeah, they're going to do it.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, she's just out there raising a kid. She's out there raising Josh Duhamel's kid while he's getting killed in space, apparently. So,
there you go.
But I thought it was just kind of strange for this game to have that sort of, it just seems weird and unnecessary. But it's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, he does a credible job playing a guy that's, trapped in a prison in the middle of space, I guess.
I mean,
it's just.
Hey, I like the idea of what's the standard there. Like, how does he compare to other space prisoners you've met in your life?
What about Vin Diesel? Who's better, Vin Diesel or Josh Duhamel?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
How many Apple crates do you have available? Is my follow-up question to that.
I guess after this, what should I go play the Chronicles of Riddick game? I guess
Butcher Bay. It's decent.
Escape from Butcher Bay. Yeah,
it's decent.
Wow.
The terrifying thing is that we can just pull that. Like, think about what that Xbox original exclusive space is eating up from our brain that could have been useful.
That's true. Yeah.
We often talk about this, that like the worst thing the Xbox original ever did was it like carved out space in our brains for its exclusive titles.
Yeah.
Almost all of which are universally hilariously awful. But
yeah. So it
we
looks.
spent more time talking about Josh Duhamel and things he's not in than we have the game. Just to be clear.
True. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I mean, if you've played Dead Space and you like Dead Space, you will probably like this. Granted, I haven't gone too far into it. From what I understand, word is that there was a lot of crunch on this game. Schofield got a bunch of heat for putting out for tweeting something that kind of promoted crunch culture, and of course, everybody jumped on him for that. And then he apologized and he said, "I'm not going to crunch ever again. I swear, I'm never going to crunch my employees again." But
so he quit the industry?
Yeah. He said that apparently this game was released probably about 3 months before it was intended, and so they had to cut a couple bosses and some enemy types from the game. So it was definitely rushed, and I expect I will probably see that near the end of the game. I kind of wish I didn't know that going in, really, because now I'll kind of be looking at it like, oh, well, there you go. That should have been a boss. But I don't know if it will affect the game, affect my experience materially, just because really it just seems like they're setting it up so there's one main villain, and if you kill that guy, I mean, I feel like that's it. But yeah, so I'll be playing through that. It's pretty. They do add some more elements, like you can like mantle over obstacles and stuff like that. So that's a little bit different than Dead Space. Dead Space is very much more Resident Evil or early Resident Evil, which kind of makes it a little bit simpler to navigate the environment. So I like that. I wonder what I hope they don't do is wind up hiding things behind stuff just because they know you can mantle, and because it's not really obvious what you can mantle over, like what you can jump over and what you can't. So we'll see how that goes further into the game. But the number one thing that annoys me about it, and I don't know why they did this, is in Dead Space, when you save your game, when you do a manual save, it saves pretty much right in the spot that you saved at.
It's not like save points. It's like,
no,
we'll save wherever.
Yeah, so it'll save your game automatically when you walk into a new room. But also, if you're in the middle of a room and you save your game manually, you'll start right there. Right. Not in Callisto Protocol.
Neat.
Callisto Protocol is very checkpoint based, so no matter what, whether you autosave or manual save, you will always start at the last checkpoint. And what that means is that all of the stuff that you picked up, like if you go over, in Dead Space, you open up lockers and there's money in there, or there's a health pack or something. All of that stuff, all resets, including, I believe, the audio logs. So it's a real pain. You have to it affects how you play the game, because you kind of have to make these runs. You have these stretches where it doesn't matter if you save your game, you will lose X amount of progress. So that's really frustrating. It was one of those things where when I realized that, I said, why did you do this? It's just, it makes it so much more of a pain in the ass.
That feels like something where if you do that, you decrease the number of scenarios you have to test.
Yeah. Entirely possible.
We only have to test you loading a save in these defined list of places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah. It was pretty disappointing. But, so there will be times in that game, I'm absolutely sure, when I will just lose my mind, because I will be right before the next checkpoint and I will get killed out of nowhere. I will lose all of my progress in the sense of collecting things, probably, because you also have to do things like, you have to go like grab a fuse from a fuse box and take it over here and then plug it in, and then the door opens and then you collect all the stuff in there. And then you have to grab the fuse and pull it out and use it on a different door. There's like manipulation, there's environmental manipulation, stuff like that. And having to do that over and over again, man. So, but
yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm expecting this to be I'm expecting to come away from the game and say, yeah, Dead Space Remake is definitely better. This has its high points, but it'll scratch that Dead Space itch. But I'm expecting it to be more frustrating than Dead Space for sure. So that's it.
Cool. All right, Guillaume, you still want to pass?
Yeah, I've got almost nothing.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we're going to move on to some email. We got 2 emails we're going to try to get through today. And I will read the first one because it's a game! GX writes, Quizmaster GX is back. Dear RFN crew, Quizmaster GX is back with another over-designed spreadsheet challenge and inspired by my current obsession with retro achievements. I've selected 15 games that were previously RFN retroactive selections and picked an achievement from retro achievements, usually one that has a discernible nugget of clue in either the name or the description. Can you identify the game from the achievement? He has sent us the quiz. I can play along. I cannot. I have to click a button to see the answers, so I can't see the answers here, but I can see the questions. So I will just go through them one at a time, and we will answer accordingly. The very first achievement. So just make sure everybody understands. He took the list of games from retroactives, banged them up against retro achievements, and picked one achievement from each of the 15 he selected.
I feel like I don't have as good a grasp of what games were in the retroactives as some other people here.
That's fair. I did them and probably don't remember them, so that's fine.
Well, how many years? It was 2009, I think, retroactive started, roughly.
A lot of years.
Yeah, that gives you an idea. It's a long time for anybody.
Achievement name, good sportsmanship. Description, wish your opponent good luck in the Island Open singles semis. This has got to be tennis, right? Mario Tennis?
Yeah,
Mario Tennis for GBA, specifically. Yeah. I played it on the Wii U Virtual Console for that retroactive.
John, you want to swerve us, or are you good with that answer?
I'm good.
Swerve.
Reveal? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's neat. Mario Tennis Power Tour, yes. All right, next achievement. Could be worse. Get turned into a thing by Dales. Dalles.
Dallas?
That'd be AS, right?
Could be worse.
Could be worse. You could be at Dulles Airport. Is that what we're going?
Is it? Wait, Dales. That's an East character name, I think. Is this East? Would this be East?
Oh, yeah. I didn't participate in this one, but there was books 1 and 2, the TG 16 version.
16 one.
That's the one we played.
It has
to.
I don't know. Didn't we do a Kid Icarus one? But like the Eggplant Wizard is not called Dallas, is he?
No.
No.
He's just the Eggplant Wizard.
I want to say this is a recurring character in the Ys games, but let's see if I'm right. Open. Oh, there we go. Hey! Ys Book 1 and 2, specifically Book 2.
Good job. What was the question mark that you can be turned into? Does it say?
No. That's the description is just get turned into a ellipses thing.
Okay.
Magnum PD. Description, crash site dash shoot the president's clone with Trent's Magnum. This is perfect art.
Yeah, gotta be.
This is so perfect art. This is the perfectest dark. Confirmed, perfect dark. Achievement, chapter 2 complete. Description, and now you're in jail. Well, that's a swerve. I got no idea.
Can you repeat?
Wait, no, I do have an idea. All right, I'm gonna let y'all. Chapter 2 complete is the name of the achievement, and the description. Keep in mind, these are descriptions written by people who like retro achievements.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're in jail. Ellipses. This sounds Princess Tomato-y.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah, John, it's the first thing
all
is
the
just
chapters,
like games that have explicit chapters.
Right, that was what led me to think about it. But then I remembered, like, that game has all kinds of dumb bullshit that happens to you, like walking in on a shower of a cherry tomato who seems like she might be okay if you decide to join her.
I believe she's... No, wait. It's not the persimmon. Right.
That was your, like, helper, right? The guy that drops everything. Is the persimmon?
No, there was a second. There was the helper was there, yes, but there was like a female character in the shower who's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, I forget what particular bit of produce she was meant to be.
Yes. Well, they all kind of look the same. They're vaguely off-red, circular things.
Except for Lisa.
That's true.
Who's
Except
a human.
for Lisa, who's a fucking human. Now I'm more convinced than ever it's this fucked up game.
Yeah, what a weird ass game.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I can't think of a second chapter prison anywhere unless that's it.
Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom.
Nice.
There it is. All right. Achievement name: Natural Puppy Enthusiast. What? Description: have 8 of natural puppy pins on your mastered collection.
That's easy.
Is that the Square Enix game I'm blanking on now?
The world ends with you.
The world ends with you.
Just the pins part. I mean, a natural puppy bit is not resonating with me.
No.
Well, and the series ends with 2. There, bam, nailed it. Roasted that lame ass game. Hey, we did it. We're doing great. We are perfect so far. Achievement name: Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Description: find and read all Brother Andrew's diary pages and the Book of Reliquaries. Is that Eternal Darkness? I feel like Brother Andrew's a character in that game.
That was my first... guess would have been Eternal Darkness.
We did that for Retroactive, right?
That's one of the earliest ones. This is going back a long way, and I have not touched it since. So it's.
Me either.
I would not swear to it, but it sounds like as good a candidate as I'm going to come up with.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Hey, we're still perfect. All right, this one. Fuck, I don't know. Achievement: la 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 la. That's 6 laws. As Maria, let the evil know you've got a heart and music on your side. Oh, that's Castlevania then, right?
Rondo of Blood?
Yeah, got him in.
Yeah. Hey, we're doing great.
I was thinking it was going to be some sort of joke about La Milana, but no.
Thou needeth a wet nurse, and the description is get transformed into a baby.
Super calls a ghost. Has to be.
All right, I'll take that. Hell yeah, brother. All right, we are past the halfway point now. We are still perfect. The question is, do they get harder or not? Achievement name: Story Time. Description: stay awake through Granny's story and win a prize. That's Majora's Mask. That's because you need that mask, that like the Link bondage sadomasochist mask. I mean, it's a mask that causes him pain, so he stays awake. There's not really another description for that. Yeah, it's Majora's Mask. Like, it is what it is. Like, that's not even a joke at this point. Achievement name: that's not a gentleman. Description: forget being a real gentleman for a moment. Oh, God.
I mean, when you talk gentleman, I'm thinking Professor Layton straight away, right?
Yeah.
Because the preoccupation with it, which would be, we've been working a lot of the earliest ones here. That would be one of the most recent ones.
Would be, so I don't know if DS games have retro achievements, but I guess they could.
It's old enough, right? I mean,
yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so we're not thinking, what's the tea time one?
Hatsworth. Oh, God, it's a good,
That was
I feel like Layton, but that's a 3DS game, so that may not have retro
No, it was DS. It was the original DS. Yeah. The team did a Mickey game on 3DS and stuff. It wasn't like that far in time, but that one was DS.
Hatsworth doesn't really spend so much time talking about being a fucking gentleman, though.
There's the preoccupation with tea, right? There ticks a lot of the stereotype boxes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel Leighton. I'm feeling
and he's
Leighton.
got like
you're
his
probably right.
dopey like companion that ends up being the villain, right? In that like,
Yeah,
like the equivalent
some
of
shit like
Luke
that.
is like the bad.
Yeah. I could see Leighton lecturing about being a gentleman more so than, yeah.
He does a lot.
Yeah.
He does it in puzzle solutions. A real gentleman thinks about his puzzles.
Yeah, no, that's why my mind went there first because it's
That's a good call.
We
That's
did
a
it a
good
lot
call,
more
and-
recently, but still.
And you were right, Professor Layton in the Curious Village. All right, achievement: snorkel snakes day off. Description: a lot of jellyfish eat all the fruit and fish in snorkel snake area without taking damage. Is that Sunshine? Snorkel snake? That feels like a fucking rare name. It's some kind of dick joke.
Well, I mean, I did have the 3D All Stars, the Super Mario 3D All Stars for Switch, so I do have access to Sunshine in English, but I didn't play it that much on there. When we did the retroactive, obviously it didn't exist yet, and I was just playing my Japanese copy, so yeah, what the enemies were called or anything, I don't know.
What? A snorkel snake does sound like a Mario character, though.
Well, it's alliterative, they like that, but...
Yeah.
And obviously the island, the seaside theme. I mean, it could, but still.
Are there any other Mario games that could
just read through it again. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Snorkel snakes day off. In Lotso jellyfish, so I guess that's the name of the level or the chapter or whatever. Eat all the fruit and fish in the snorkel snake area without taking damage. Eat all the fruit and fish.
Eat all the fruit.
It could be Yoshi in Sunshine, right? In terms of eating the fruit.
Wait, but fruit's just a power up in that one, right? Doesn't it respawn after you eat it?
Yeah, I forget now. I definitely.
Wait, did we do Yoshi's Story?
Yeah, I think we did. You're right. That another early one, but I think Yoshi's Story is maybe you might be more viable than Sunshine here because, like you said, I think it just respawns, doesn't it? With the, you need to eat fruit, otherwise Yoshi dissolves or whatever the hell goes on in Mario. Yeah. Sometimes a bit odd, but because you do need to eat it, I think it keeps coming back.
Right. I don't think you can eat it all. All right. This is the first one I don't feel good about. Oh my God, we're still there. Yoshi's Story.
Also, again, Yoshi's Story, where we did that retroactive, I was playing Japanese at 64 copies, so again, like the names of the enemies or the levels, I wouldn't have had the knowledge of that.
All right, we've got 4 left. Create or destroy. Beat Master Hand and Crazy Hand and claim a mirror shard. Did we do any Smash Brothers? And what would we've even done?
We did Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, didn't we?
Right.
Or is Crazy Hand in that?
Oh, that's a good call. I don't know.
It could be, but like a mirror shard. I mean...
Yeah, it's kind of the clue there. Like, so I didn't participate in this one. I've never got too deep into Amazing Mirror myself, but it sounds plausible.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
It's post Melee, so that Crazy Hand is the thing, because obviously Master Hand's in N64 Smash, but Crazy Hand doesn't show up until Melee.
Gentlemen, we are in the 8th inning now of this no-hitter. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Got 3 left. Yes. Achievement, RNG Superstar. Description, find all 9 hidden items in the Scorched Sands in 1 session. Oh, I don't like this one. Scorched Sands.
RNG.
What would it even be?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I don't know. What level drops stuff randomly like that? In what game?
Yeah, all right, so...
Is there like a Scorched Sands level in Sin and Punishment? Didn't we do the sequel, Sin and Punishment 2, or am I hallucinating.
I wouldn't have been involved.
But there's not random items that drop though. Like Sin of Punishment is.
You get medals in the second one for doing special stuff, like countering boss attacks in particular ways and stuff. That's the closest I can kind of cut it to that. There is a desert level in that one, for sure. It's like a chimera boss at the end of it and stuff. But it doesn't seem
about that though.
And again, I played Sin and Punishment in Japanese, the first, both of them. So yeah. I'm not great with level names and stuff on that, but the problem is desert level such a bloody trope, isn't it? It's everywhere. Oh, yeah. It's like that, so it really doesn't narrow it down as much as you'd like. So you'd have to remember the specifically Scorched Sands would have to resonate.
It's going to be some bullshit. This is there's no chance on this one. This is going to be some bullshit.
I'm just trying to think if we're going to shoot in the dark. I don't know how useful this, because this isn't even just a retro game, right? But the Wonder Boy 3 has a desert area in it.
Yeah.
Is it possible we've gone for, because a lot of these have been early retroactives, but the odd more recent one like Professor Layton, and that's another recent one.
So what's get all the what then?
Would that fit? You can read that again.
Find all 9 hidden items in Scorched Sands in one session. Doesn't give us much. No.
Doesn't feel like Wonder Boy to me.
I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
Because nothing in there and nothing in that game is really RNG.
No.
In terms of
it's the name of it. Yeah, it's the description is one thing, but for that to be the name.
Yeah. And it's hidden items. That's the part. How do they? Is this you have to walk on a pixel and you get the item kind of shit? That's almost RPG-ish. But even then, I can't figure out what it would be. In session, too. So it's level-based, I guess? Scorched Sands is the name of the level.
Yeah.
Session kind of makes it feel like the levels be replayable. So it'd be like a game where you can go back and play the levels again. Because if it was just you play the level and you're done, that won't do you any good. Who wants to just take a guess?
What was that WiiWare 2D monster truck game?
Oh,
Moto Heroes?
Moto Heroes? Is there any chance it could be that?
I'd be fucking furious, but sure, it could. I guess. I don't got anything else to go with.
No, I've nothing to supersede it. So
the streak ends now, boys. There's no way it's Moto Heroes, but let's see.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I've been long.
I almost asked. Yeah, I almost asked. Did we do a Fire Emblem because the RNG gods? Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah,
but still, finding hidden items. I don't think I ever would have associated that with Fire Emblem.
I was sniffing around it with the RPG stuff.
Yeah, and you said, the name of it being RNG, right? It's got to be a game that has that built into its kind of mechanics.
All right, 2 more left. A perfect game is over for us. They're sending in the reliever now. Gradius moment: defeat Babyface and clear scene 6.
I would think that's Dynamite Heady.
That's kind of where I was leaning towards, because it's all play based.
Yeah, except the scenes, right? That's why. That was, again, I was playing the Japanese version on Virtual Console on Wii there, so I think there were differences with the names of the bit. Didn't they have more movie puns, like Terminate Her 2 or whatever for the Western
great.
one?
But it's fucking Gex. Great, awesome. Yeah, it is Dynamite Heady.
Which is really one of the. It might have been the first one.
It's the first official one.
Yeah,
because there was the Ocarina of Time thing we did that wasn't official.
That was more like a retrospective. Just because although necessarily, I mean, I probably booted it up and stuff, but it wasn't like, let's play along and, tell the audience to play along and stuff like that.
Right. All right, last one. Achievement, Bloody Overflow. I don't need to read anything else. It's Killer 7. But I'll keep reading. While playing Target 00 Angel, it's Killer 7. Break the Blood Machine, it's Killer 7. With an excess of blood, it's still Killer 7. In any mode or difficulty. It's Killer 7 is fuck. This is the most Killer 7 sentence that has ever been written by anyone ever.
I'll buy it.
Sure.
Sure was. It's like, that well Bloody done. Overflow, I'm done. Killer 7, we're in. And it's just like, oh, no, this is the dumbest, crassest, stupidest thing in the world. Yep, it's Killer 7. Got there.
Yeah, what odds is it? What odds do you give me that one day there's a mature app for the GameCube Nintendo Classics and Killer 7 shows up on it?
Oh, it's probably going to be there. We did really well. I mean, I'm kind of mad we missed one. We went 14 for 15. I would almost rather we have missed 2. But that's still really fucking good.
That is. Yeah, that's impressive.
That's still really fucking good. So, if you're going to send us a game, you need to up it from that difficulty just a little bit. Thank you, GX, for making us look smart. I know how hard that is. We try every week and mixed success, but awesome. All right. Last email. Guillaume, since you didn't have a new business, would you mind reading it? I put it in the chat.
Sure. Sorry, I need to go in the chat.
That's fine. The magic of editing. Snip, snip.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Lord Not, N-O-T.
Yes.
It's a weird name. They are RFN crew. As you saw during the Direct, Donkey Kong Bananza represents a significant shift in how Nintendo handles timelines and its franchises. Yes, we've all noticed. With the coexistence of Donkey Kong, Cranky Kong, and Kid Pauline, we now see that they have gone from total apathy to active hostility towards any attempt to make a coherent timeline out of their games. With that in mind, how do you predict this change in attitude will manifest next? Will Samus's next adventure end with her having dinner with her parents? Will the Inkling and Splatoon Raiders stumble upon a village of humans? Is the next Punch-Out going to be a boxing management sim where a retired little Mac helps his protege Duck Lewis overcome his chocolate addiction? Praying that this summer of Too Hot for Everything Else doesn't become Too Hot for Games.
It is too fucking hot for everything right now.
Oh yeah.
Jesus
Christ.
It was 90 something Fahrenheit at 90% humidity today. It's fucking miserable. Goddamn miserable. All right. So I appreciate anytime Nintendo takes a pause and says, "Hey, do you care about timelines? You do? Great. Let me kick you directly in the face."
we can actually, because obviously this came in after the Bananza Direct, but we can speak a little bit more on it now that we've played the game, because I've run into Cranky a couple of times. It seems like it's going to be a recurring thing, right? Cranky somewhere in each
you
of
have?
them.
I haven't found him once.
Oh, well, there you go. I guess it's another. The second time I found him was really funny, because the first time is like you see Rambi, and then Cranky's right really near to him. The second time is like I could see Rambi and not Cranky, and I was like, "Oh, where's he then? Where's it?" And then I looked around. Eventually, I saw him on a platform in the sky and threw a rock at it to make him crash to the floor.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's what was supposed to happen. As mean spirited as it might sound out of context.
I mean, he deserves it.
But when you talk to him, he does mention, he has this whole, kind of fairly in character kind of spiel about how, oh, well, I've had to come down here because you were too busy mucking about in the gold mine or whatever. And he makes some sort of comment about the villains of the game, sort of saying, oh, well, they don't even have style like in my day where they used to wear blue overalls or whatever. So they're acknowledging, like, that they're kind of reinforcing the idea of Cranky being the original Donkey Kong who was at odds with Mario. So that means, like, well, how would the two Paulines be the same people then? So, I mean, the easiest answer is it's a different Pauline. It's fine. But also, the real answer is they don't care. It just doesn't
They don't
matter.
give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Metroid, I mean, I think that not that they take it really seriously, but I think that the timelines in that game make more sense just in the sense that, there's cause and effect, I think, in that series, right? Where
the biggest problem they've got, we've talked about this a bunch of times, like the biggest problem where it just doesn't quite work, and this isn't really so much a timeline thing as it is just a narrative thing, a storytelling thing, is like, Ridley keeps coming back all the time, right? And there's explanations for this. There's, well, this is a sort of robotic replica of Ridley, or his remains were in cryogenic storage, or this is a clone of Ridley and he's a cute little bird until he isn't. But the biggest problem with it is in Other M, where it's like Samus freaks out at the sight of Ridley, which is really kind of like, that would, like, it's pretty much kind of I think related to Sakamoto's like Metroid manga, which, kind of has a similar to where it's like, she, like, Ridley killed her parents or whatever, so it's like, it would freak her out the first time, certainly, but, like, at this point, she's killed him so many times in that timeline that you would have thought she might not be as alarmed, or certainly, and obviously with the limited storytelling of the previous versions, we don't really know how alarmed she was the first few times, but
maybe she was crying the whole time. You don't know.
It doesn't really work. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I get that this is a scene that you had in your head, but it doesn't belong in this story where you've put it in the timeline, which is admittedly
PTSD doesn't work on your schedule, Greg.
No, I suppose not. But that's just how it felt when I played it. It's just like, this I can see how you envision this scene in your mind, but it doesn't feel right here, basically. But that, like, that's not necessarily like explicitly a timeline issue. Of course, like the Metroid Prime games are just like exist in this little pocket in the timeline somewhere, right? Is it between 1 and 2? I forget. I guess it just like that length of time just keeps going because, we keep making more eventually. I mean, it's taken a while, but we trust that it will happen, that Prime 4 will come out, and then, we'll have a fourth game that takes place between Metroid 1 and 2. So you're stretching it a bit, right? Like, considering a certain amount of time passes between the Prime games, right? Like, things change or, sort of develop over that time. And of their, famous franchises, it's gotta be one of the more carefully, like, observed ones. It has to be.
Oh, sure. Like, it's the one that has, I mean, to be, like, that its creator is more, its creative lead is more intimately involved with every game than the majority of franchises at Nintendo. So that's part of it.
And like I said, Prime is with Sakamoto is not particularly involved as much with is its own like carve out, and it's just like like I said, it's stretching it at this point, but it's got its own little piece to exist in, and we just you go with that.
But he also just seems to care more. Like Miyamoto couldn't give you could not find a dollar amount that would make Miyamoto care about the Zelda timeline. You just couldn't. Like the man actively does not care about the timeline. It is.
Yeah, I feel like just coming from where they come from, like that old school arcade mentality where every game was sort of a product unto itself. And I have always gotten the sense that they feel like the fans are something that the fans have projected timelines onto these series when that was never their intent ever.
Right.
Even with the early Zeldas, where it was sort of in the same universe, but probably not. Like, they just never really gave much thought to it. Even when they sell a
book with a timeline in it, they still really don't care.
Yeah. Like, they don't take it too seriously.
I mean, for fuck's sake, they named a bridge the Bridge of Demise. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Demise was in the past, but it's supposed to be so far in the past no one would know about it. which means that this is a coincidence.
Well,
which means that
I guess it could just be
maybe it's just a very dangerous bridge.
Maybe previous versions of the bridge, the engineering was dodgy, and people just met their demise there.
Like, but if you're the engineer or the person funding the bridge, would you be like, what I want people to think about when they think about this bridge? Fucking dying. You're gonna name it like the Bridge of Happy Fun Times. This is just fucking Eric the Red in Greenland here.
Maybe that was a previous name, and that's what was the problem was. People were just, sauntering about on the bridge and fell.
We just need you
by
to
calling it the Bridge of Demise, that's like actually,
I need to get the fuck away from this bridge. This fucking bridge is a nightmare. I mean,
at least, cross it running. Make sure you don't spend too much time.
But what if you trip? What if you trip, Guillaume, and die? You can't run. Gotta be careful. Gotta be methodical. Like, it's just like nobody's gonna name. I don't care how dangerous the bridge is. Nobody's gonna name it the Bridge of You're Gonna Fucking Die. So, like, it's got to be a reference to the thing that is so far back that there's no one who remembers it. They don't care.
Well, that's lots of that. Those games, isn't it? It's just locations with naming that refers to some previous game. But that's it. Yeah, it's not really that important. It's just nods.
They don't even care about the timeline in the Breath of the Wild universe. They don't give a fuck.
It's one of these things. It's like they're happy to allude to past games. They're happy to have connections there, but equally it's like they don't regard it as it should never be a kind of restriction. It should never be like, oh, well, we shouldn't do this gameplay wise, or we shouldn't do this scenario wise, or, that forces us to think about it. It's like, when it suits them, when it's like, oh, well, we could, oh, yeah, you could connect this to that and we'll allude to that, they will. But if it's anything like that, oh, well, that would force us to be consistent or do something we don't want to do, then it can go screw off, basically.
Right.
Which is not the most, sublimely, disciplined artistic endeavor, but it is what it is. On balance, it's probably for the best, right? It's just like, look, in the end, the scenario is in service of the broader game design and all that, so it bends, not the other way around.
I actually think the we don't care about the timeline and we will animate that to the fullest extent in our game. I actually think that's more of an artistic statement. That's saying, this is what we care about, this is what we don't. And as a consequence, we will not allow the thing we don't care about to dictate what we do in the space that we do care.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I just talked about the discipline of it. You know what I mean? It feels like it's like they'll dabble in it when it, quite happily, because you think of stuff like, Wind Waker and how it sort of alludes to, Ocarina and stuff like that, or Twilight Princess and how that alludes to Ocarina and Majora's Mask and stuff like, they're doing it. They're not pretending they don't connect to each other. They're not, they'll do it, except when it doesn't suit them, and then they won't.
Right.
So it's just, that's not a very disciplined approach, but I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it either.
I enjoy the degree to which they don't care. I think I've hit the spot now where I just think it's funny. It's just like, we talked about it with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, that was the breaking point for me, Tears of the Kingdom, where it's just like...
No, well, the thing about Tears of the Kingdom is that I do feel that is a significantly different approach to what we just talked about, right? Where it's like, okay, if you're making something like Wind Waker, and it's like, okay, how do you treat the previous game? And you're kind of saying, well, it's a different Link. there's a lot of things are different. It's many years away, but at the same time, it does kind of acknowledge the previous game, and you jump off from it in a meaningful way. Whereas with Tears of the Kingdom, it's the same Link, and yet it almost doesn't acknowledge the previous game. Just kind of, but it's much more like Galaxy 2, which is a bloody Mario game. It doesn't have much of a narrative, kind of thread to it at all. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that those games need it to have, but, where it's almost like, let's kind of act like the previous one didn't happen and just like do the kind of B scenario of that. It's really straight. It's very like we weren't even engaged to the extent that we used to.
Yeah, it's fun. Is the answer? But then you also have like the weird Muso games they're making in that space. Where, like, we really don't fucking care about the timeline of this one. Like, we just don't care. We can't be bothered. An egg has disrupted the full flow of time. Have this egg.
Yeah, the weird part about that, I guess, is just like, like Warriors being fan fiction-y. Like, I'm sure that happens with a lot of the other properties that you've licensed, Warriors games exist for. But it's just like with, like Hyrule Warriors, the first game, okay, it's just like everyone, it's like all different Zelda characters from all different, like, eras of the series and it's all kind of quite light-hearted and stuff, but then with the Age of Calamity, it was more like, it couldn't decide. Like, on the one hand, it was like, oh no, it's serious business, this. It's like going through a version of what it was like, when Hyrule was, experiencing sort of apocalyptic conflict. And then on the other hand, it's, egg Dalek shenanigan time travel nonsense.
Yes.
Like, it's just, it can't really make up its mind. It'd be interesting with the Age of Imprisonment, whether they go more to actually we're going to try and be consistent with the narrative as it was, the extent to which it was told in Tears of the Kingdom and actually try and, enrich that and while being consistent with it. I'm not sure. Again, that takes a certain amount of discipline, and it maybe it restricts you in certain areas, and then you wonder, do they have that discipline, or will they just kind of do what they think's cool at a certain point, and would the game just be better for that anyway? It's a Warriors game.
Agreed. So to the actual question that we were asked, since I think we may have possibly maybe sort of lost the plot. Which never happens. Never ever happens. Nope, that's Donkey Kong pillow thing. Will Samus's next adventure end with her having dinner with her parents? No, they're estranged. Will the Inkling in Splatoon Raiders stumble upon a village of humans? Honestly, that doesn't seem that far. That doesn't really seem that far-fetched.
Splatoon 3 went close. We got to see, the kind of one of the last sort of bastions of human civilization underground before everything went to pot. So that'd be, I guess, it's possible.
I would absolutely play a Punch-Out boxing management sim. Like, honestly, like, playing the Don King role in the Punch-Out universe would be fun as shit.
Yeah.
That would actually be a fun game.
Yeah, it'd sort of be like a manager mode in some other sports game, right? Like, you would probably, figure out the training. You could have really funny ways of training somebody. You could do a lot of fun stuff with that, I think.
I think training is part of it, but I think 90% of the focus needs to be on the promotion. Because here's the fun thing about boxing, is that 80% of the matches that take place, the outcome doesn't matter. All that matters is what's the take. What's the fighter taking home, and what cut am I getting? That's it. That's the whole show. So, like, what if I need to try to find a way to promote my match with Glass Joe, or not my match, protege's match with Glass Joe so that people actually tune in to watch it. Because that's what it's all about. I got to get those pay-per-view numbers up. I need money because I need to have the robot that I have a weird, uncomfortable relationship with that is a requisite of being a boxing manager. So,
to be fair, that has been cut out from the most recent version of Rocky IV. So
you can't edit a documentary. What the fuck?
Yeah, I was surprised by the fact that it's like, no, actually, that it was quite easily taken out, wasn't it? It just turns out that was completely the robot's romantic potential relationship with Paulie was extraneous to the story after all.
Disagree. It's the only part of the story that matters.
I mean, it's basically a music video, so you can edit it however you like. It doesn't. It's not a normal film.
We are specifically talking about Rocky IV. Like, this is a particular brand of stupid.
And the non-robot,
so like Rocky IV, make my video. Is that
the non-robot version omits the 4. I think it says it's just Rocky versus Drago or something. It's like the subtitle without the number to differentiate itself. So.
That's dumb.
Well, I guess they got to differentiate it somehow. I mean, they could have just called it the non-robot cut or whatever. But I mean,
Rocky IV : no one tries to fuck a robot. That we know of. I mean, that movie's so stupid. The idea that you would cut anything out of it for being too stupid is insulting. The idea that you could have something that in the context of Rocky IV is just too much.
On reflection, I went a bit far there, didn't I?
Yeah, we should get a new cut where they put it back and extend it. Like, no. Actually, I'm not talking about Paulie. I'm talking about the scene, and we're just gonna like. This actually was more important than we thought. This is a load-bearing romance. We need to put it back in here. Again, talking about the scene, not Paulie. Just to get that thing. No, again, I'm gonna walk into the same problem. Fuck. Like, I just come back. But again, like in our game, in Nintendo's game, we already have the egg. He's wandering around, but who's to say he can't time travel to different Nintendo franchises? As a potential, I mean, Date Everything, which came out on Switch just recently, did pretty good numbers. Let Paulie fuck the egg. That's all I'm saying. You will make big numbers. Not actually Paulie, we don't have those rights, but the trainer, the Little Mac as a trainer role. Also, what the idea here that, well, it can't be Little Mac who's but just call him Big Mac. Done. We finished. Little Mac's his kid. We did it. Like, what if we just roll back around and...
Wait, Little Mac has a kid named Big Mac?
No, other way around. Big Mac's his father.
No, he is...
I like it the other way
Little
around.
Mac, the fictional character, is the father of Mark McGuire, the famous baseball player. That's what I've taken from it.
I mean... partial creatine has to be at least considered partially.
He was a different man by the end of his career.
Whatever human generated the growth hormones. I honestly, like, these don't sound like bad ideas. These sound like great ideas. These all sound amazing. I'm thrilled with these. Like, these are fantastic.
No, but I think the general thing is like, with Zelda, like the way they treated the events of Breath of the Wild, which was such a huge game, and obviously there were several years after, but after the game had come out, before we got to Tears of the Kingdom, but not terribly many, or anything. So, and tens of millions of people played Breath of the Wild, so you could relatively have more confidence that people would have retained the events of that narrative, and they still just went...
At least to some degree.
And they still just went, nope. Like, forget it. Like, it's just, it really speaks to the ethos of just like, yeah, this should be something that, people can enjoy without prior knowledge or, recollection. Basically, I mean, you see, they walk a line with that with Xenoblade games as well, right? Like, it's always like, well, we want to have some element of a big element of the narrative a lot of the time be something that is, people can just come into it without prior knowledge and enjoy. There's unique characters, it's their story, you latch onto them, and it might overlap with the lore of the previous games or whatever, and maybe they can go and find out about those things, or God forbid, even buy those other games and play them afterwards. But you kind of are banking on the fact that the protagonists of those games, they're going to kind of connect with them and take on their journey, right? And then the DLC might get really into the like, okay, this is how it connects to everything else in the series or whatever, but they don't want it to be too weighed down for the main sort of campaign. And those are much more niche games, obviously, than Zelda. Something that's going to sell more like 2 or 3 million rather than 20 or 30. And they're still conscious of the fact that it's like, let's give people an ability to enjoy this just with unencumbered, as it were. So it tells you the kind of philosophy that prevails, and I don't expect that to change.
Nintendogs, but they start as adults and Benjamin button down to puppies. There, fuck it, who cares? Like, just whatever, just fuck it, just burn it all down, burn the whole thing down. There's nothing else that even I guess Fire Emblem does respect its own lore to some degree. That just creates unrelated universes whenever they feel like they want to do something else. Like, no, this is a different universe. Who cares? Whatever.
I mean, I've said before, look, Nintendo is not for serious gamers. They're just a non-serious company. They don't care about stuff like that.
Correct. No,
they
agreed.
Don't care about it.
John calls Nintendo non-serious.
They're just stop taking video games so seriously, especially Nintendo games. That's all I have to say to you.
So, episode titled Nintendo is not serious. And you know what? I've seen all these YouTube videos lately where it's like, Switch 2 is over, and all this shit, and it's just like angry looking face and back.
But do you feel that though? I mean, I feel that Nintendo sometimes looks at their fan base and they're like, guys, you take this way more seriously than we do.
But they're right.
Yeah, I know.
I agree they do that, but also they're correct.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't imagine they're alone in that. In terms of any time you are in the mass entertainment business, where it's this is it's not enough that we sell it to this many people, and they were probably getting down close to that nub with Wii U in terms of they were selling it to the people that took it too damn seriously, and that's it. And that's not enough. Not nearly enough. They have to be in the business of selling it to people who are not as invested, and maybe over time they get more invested, and some of those, because again, it's a constant attrition, right? The people who are heavily invested at one point, for various reasons, they fall out of that, right? And then you got to replace them with somebody, and it's going to come from those ranks. But the bottom line is you've also got to sell to a much broader base. Like I said, to get to 30 million on a Zelda game, that was amazing. Absolutely incredible that they managed that. And there's a lot of reasons for it. But certainly one of them just being, look, guys, this is just so far in the future. Who the fuck knows or cares what it's got to do with anything else that's ever happened in Zelda? Just go out there and explore Hyrule. We've got musical themes, and we've got names, and we've got, all these sorts of thematic and aesthetic allusions to the games that people can kind of latch onto that actually know or care about this stuff, but it not to the exclusion of anybody else's enjoyment that don't have that context.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Last thoughts. Anybody? Or are we good?
Got nothing.
All right. Well, emails. Again, as I mentioned, the email link in the show notes is dead. Don't click it. Send us an email instead via email to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. Greg, what is our music to wrap up this Kong full week.
Well, yeah, obviously we already went with the Kong stuff last week. So this week, a couple of days, I think roughly after this podcast goes live, we've got Pokemon Presents to think about. There's the second one of this year because, of course, you always get one in February for Pokemon Day or the anniversary of the original games coming out in Japan. But with this one, of course, I guess at this point, the main thing we're all expecting is just more stuff on Pokemon Legends Z to A or whatever. That's only a few months away now because it's in October in particular. So you would have thought that's going to be a lot of the focus there. But another possibility might be some older Pokemon games that could come to Nintendo Classics as part of NSO. And we had a request a while back when they confirmed some of the GameCube games that will be coming later on as that service continues to add games from AG for the wild Pokemon battle theme from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. So that was again the second GameCube Pokemon game after Colosseum, and I guess they were the Colosseum was following the Stadium games on N64. I never did play Gale of Darkness myself. Following the coverage at the time, it kind of seemed like they were trying to, get a bit of separation between it and the line of like Colosseum and Stadium games in terms of, this is worth playing if you're a Pokemon fan. It was an era that was, not as tough going as a Wii U, but it was tough going, and they were trying to lean on Pokemon to get people to, translate from Game Boy Advance to GameCube and stuff. And from what I understood, it was, reasonably well received, Gale of Darkness, but it was too late in the day to really do very much to change the fortunes for GameCube.
All right. Well, on that, it's time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.